Good day, everyone. I am Bebelin Sirabago, and my report is all about organizational development. Organizational development is the study and implementation of practices, systems, and techniques that affect organizational change, the goal of which is to modify an organization's performance and culture. In organizational development, change is the law of nature. No organization is exempted from change, while public administration works for stability in government and it changes as government changes. Generally, Filipino public administrators are considered to be development oriented because of their training. They belong to the country's career executive service, and in solving the country's numerous problems, they are expected to show leadership by example. Then there are three strategies that are grouped together in organizational development. First is organizational change. Second, organizational strategies for change. And third is organizational development. Now let's talk about organizational change. Organizational change is the movement of an organization from one state to another, and it can take many forms and may involve a change in a company's structure, strategy, policies, procedures, technology, and culture. According to Edgar F. Hose and James Bowditch, change in organizations is inevitable. Sometimes it is forced on an organization because of external pressures such as new laws, regulations, competition, or innovation. At other times, and because of perceived problems or opportunities within the organization, change needs to be managed if the organization and the goals of organizational development are to be met. So many government organizations are not provided with adequate flexibility in their structures. The task of public administration is rooted in the fundamental laws of the land. Organizational change develops through a series of stages. So Warren G. Bennis and his associates, they identified the following types of changes. And these are the following. First is plan change, indoctrination, coercive change, technocratic change, interactional change, socialization, emulative change, natural change. However, other social scientists would like to delimit the typology into two only, and these are plan change and unplanned change. Plan change is a deliberate effort directed to effect a change in a target system of individuals. An unplanned change is the result of natural resources causing change to society, and it occurs without preconceived plans and programs. Nevertheless, change takes place within a social, economic, and political. The dynamic variables in it have a bearing on attitudes, opinions, and behavior of people. There are three principal approaches to change. The classical approach is centered to the increase in profitability of the business enterprise. In the case of government organization, this refers to the increased efficiency, effectiveness, and economy of its operation. Normally, the change is either preceded or followed by the installation of the new management techniques such as work study, production planning, control, budgetary control, redesigning the organization structure, and rewriting the role description. Second is human relations approach. The human relations approach aims to enhance human productivity and organizational effectiveness by undertaking certain psychological changes in the organization. This is done through the effort to change attitudes, improve motivations, and uplift morale among others. Third is system approach. In the system approach, the objective of the organizational change is to increase the organization's levels of adaptation to its environment by undergoing changes in its internal behavior system. Because of the environment changes, management is continuously involved in the process of making organizational changes. In most cases, changes represent the reaction of management to the external factor such as organizational competition, technological change, social values, and government policy. Fremont E. Cass and James A. Rosenwig enumerate the following sources of impetus for organizational change. First is environment, second, goals and values, third, technical, fourth is structural, and fifth is psychological. Environment change is often stimulated by changes in its environment. In the general environment of an organization, there occurs an accelerating rate of change, include technological, economic, legal, political, demographic, ecological, and cultural factors. Goals and values modification of the goals of the organization and changes in its values are impetus to change. Change in values leads to change in goals. These new goals can be imposed from external to internal sources such as government, regulations, or redefinition of organizational objectives and policies. Next is technical. The technical is the new methods for processing materials and information provides a dramatic example of technical systems as a source of change. Mechanization, automation, and computerization have widespread influence in organization. Next is the structural. The structural subsystem is a source of organizational change. Different ways of dividing up the work and new means of coordinated can be designed to make an existing organization more effective and efficient. The last is the psychological. Psychological success in achieving organizational goals depends to a great extent upon human factors. Thus, changes in the moral and motivation of individuals and groups have a significant which can lead to discernible changes in organizational performance. So, according to Kelly, organizational changes can be approached from a number of optics. Number one is the structural optic. This the structural optic refers to the changes that are introduced by modifying the organization, underwriting job description, spelling out new formal guidelines and procedures. Second, process optic. This approach involves the actual sequence of organizational events. It uses three steps, which is unfreezing, changing, and refreezing. The model proposed by Kurt Lewin. Third is value optic. This approach to change presupposes that new values are important into the system in which turn have significant effect on changing structure and process. Fourth is environment optic. This approach considers that a major source of change in an organization comes from the environmental changes. Organizations are expected to cope with technological, economic, social, and cultural changes which seem to be going at an accelerating rate. Now let's talk about organizational strategies for change. When public administration is very much rooted to the past, culture plays an important role in affecting organizational changes. Moreover, people have their own value system and their own priorities, and preoccupation which have a bearing on their ability to change. So there are two organizational strategies that could be used in getting people to change. First is persuasion. The persuasion, and the second is compulsion. The persuasion is the attempt to produce attitudinal and behavioral changes in people using the normal channels of management and process, while compulsion is the manipulation of rewards or punishment to get people to adopt the recommended management practices. In both cases, communication is an essential ingredient of change. So understanding people requires knowledge on how they acquire new information and the patterns of their behaviors and attitudes. There are several research instruments that can be used to measure socio-psychological and other related variables in organization development. And these are the following. First is socioeconomic status scale. Second, adaptation behavior scale, orientation value scale, social participation scale, attitude scale, self-rating scale, rationality quotient scale, value scales, and Gottman scales. The socioeconomic status scales, it includes items on land, education, house, occupation, social status, material possessions, and family participation. Adaptation behavior scales, it is used together with the ratio scale adaptation quotient. The variables in each practice comprise potentiality, extent, and consistency, and the adaptation quotient which could be used. Orientation value skills, they are used to measure three dimensions, namely conversation, conservation, liberalism, fatalism, scientism, and authoritarianism. Social participation skill, they are used to determine the extent of participation of people in both formal and informal group activities. Attitude skill, it is used together with equal appearing interval scale to measure people's attitudes towards certain subjects. A knowledge test should be conducted to measure people's knowledge about such subject. Self-rating skill, it is used to quantify the degree of people's self-evaluation with regard to some personality characteristics such as innovation, proneness, economic motivation, adaptation leadership, closeness with people, and life preference. Rating scale, it is used to measure the followers or non-leaders' preference towards leadership behavior. It contains 4 categories of leadership behavior such as personal qualities, social qualities, task roles, and maintenance roles. Rationality quotient scale. It is used to measure the people's decision making, which comprises the applicability of the decisions to the people, situation, and extent, potentiality, and complex decisions. Value skills, they are used for measuring economic innovation, scientific orientation, mental activity, independence, and risk preference. Gottman scale, it is used to measure the rigidity, flexibility of the personality trait of the people. So in introducing organization change, drastic actions should be avoided. An individual's decision about accepting or rejecting an innovation or change is usually not an instantaneous act. It is the process that covers a period of time, which is in 1965, YRC advocated the adoption of 7 stages of introducing innovation or change. Moreover, an organization is required to adapt and cope with change to survive. If not to grow, it is required also to innovate. For that, organization development will continue to be used by public officials. However, without the total awareness of the overall concept of the social, economic, and political system of society, it is sure to fail.